Hi, my name is Danny. Welcome back to another video and welcome back to another night at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. On October 27th, 2023, after a grueling 8-year process, Five Nights at Freddy's was released in theaters and on Peacock. It finally happened. We finally got our movie. The movie marks the first installment in a 3-film trilogy, and it also marks a new era of theorizing and lore hunting for a plethora of FNAF YouTubers. In the arms of the angel. Look, I know he's not gone yet, but it still hurts. Anyways, back to the movie at hand. With Josh Hutcherson playing Mike Schmidt and Matthew Lillard playing William Afton, Willie A, Purple Guy, and a cameo from Corey Kenshin, nothing could go wrong, right? Right? Nothing could go wrong. I saw Five Nights at Freddy's in theaters opening night, and I've also seen it 3 times since it's come out. So why not watch it a 4th time and then make a video about it, finally dissecting my opinions on this film. I know that a film installment in the FNAF universe is overall controversial and was not welcomed by a lot of people, fans and non-fans alike. And it's because it's hard to replicate that feeling that you get when you play the games, I think. And also it just creates more plot holes for people that get frustrated with the lore. But I want to know if it works overall. I want to know, watching it from a more critical lens, does the FNAF movie actually make sense? Is it good? Or is all of the hate that it got necessary and well-deserved? So let's get into our video, shall we? My first line of defense is the FNAF opening. Yeah, it sucks that we couldn't see Mark in that role, but it's not a bad opening by any means, and it works pretty well. There are some fun moving parts to this opening sequence. For example, the crawling through the air vent aspects of the opening. It was shot in such a fun way and exacerbates the claustrophobic feeling I assume our security guard has during this. It's decently suspenseful for a movie that focuses more on the murder, mystery, and implied horror genre of the universe. I'll touch a little more on that later and why implied horror was a major struggle factor with the enjoyment in some fans. I don't know if anyone actually thinks that the title / opening sequence is bad, but this is my hill to die on, and I think that the title sequence is one of the most entertaining title sequences we got out of 2023. I really love how they use the Atari style in this title sequence. It's very similar to the Atari style they use in the mini games in FNAF 2. Also, I love the fact that the opening is telling the story of the missing children's incident. Viewers that pay attention during the opening watch aspects of the movie plot as well as paying homage to the other FNAF universe's versions of their missing children's incident. So we're off to an okay start. Pretty decent start at that, not too shabby. Another line of defense, and if it's not another obvious one, are the animatronics. I don't need to say that much about how cool it was that they were able to get the Jim Henson Creature Shop to do these mascot puppets, but it was very, very cool. If you bashed on the animatronics of this movie, just go ahead and say you don't understand the magic and whimsy of Jim Henson. He may be dead, but his legacy lives on in the animatronics of this film. The Jim Henson Creature Shop has made puppets for years, and they're pretty well known for creating the Muppets, puppets in Fraggle Rock, Labyrinth, and also the Dark Crystal. I think the Jim Henson Creature Shop was the perfect company to take this role on. I don't trust any other puppeteers in the industry to do something like the FNAF animatronics, and Jim Henson is known for making darker characters and for making characters that are a part of these all ages or most ages horror franchises / fantasy franchises. And that is easy enough to make him a top contender. Another absolute win for Five Nights at Freddy's is the set design. Right off the bat, seeing the sets and seeing the setting of the film before we even got the first trailer, that sold me. I already knew I was gonna love this movie from those photos. Of course, it's gonna be a win when you're dealing with a franchise that has so many secrets, references, and lore points. Setting is extremely important to the FNAF franchise and is a key in solving a lot of the lore. I think this is also important and well done because drawings are a really important aspect of the film. So, you can put up so many drawings done by kids that are at the Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria and by Abby to show aspects and backgrounds of the film. Let's get into it. I do think people were unnecessarily harsh with the critique that the FNAF movie is not scary enough. As if Five Nights at Freddy's doesn't live off of implied gore. If you want outright disturbing Five Nights at Freddy's content, might I recommend two of my favorite darker FNAF analog horror series, The Walton Files and also Baddington Tapes. And Baddington just dropped a recent video about the Fazbear Frights attraction that I highly recommend. It's pretty much an allegory for William's time in purgatory, which is so cool to me. But there are a few games and books that actually get into the nitty-gritty gore. They mostly play around with implication and assumption because of the various age ranges engaging in this franchise. And it's not the end of the world that we got a taste instead of the full meal when it comes to Five Nights at Freddy's gore. It was also confirmed that the second film in this franchise will take more of a horror route anyways, so we do have something to look forward to. And I think it's a pretty big plus that they are taking this feedback and critique and working with what fans want and what they also want to prioritize themselves. Let's get into some problems I have with the FNAF movie. This is going to be hard for the both of us. One problem I had with the film is the navigation of jump scares. Jump scares are vital to Five Nights at Freddy's, whether they are good or insanely bad. Jump scares in the games have been memorialized and memeified to death, but I'm not saying I don't like them. Do I think the Balloon Boy jump scares were downright hilarious and a potential lore drop? Yes, of course I do. But do I also wish we had gotten to navigate some of the classic jump scares from the first game in this movie? Yeah, I do. And I understand why it's hard to translate these jump scares from FNAF 1 into the world of the movie. The gameplay and even the books feel so different from what you are putting onto a screen, especially when you know that a screenplay is pretty much bare bones. So you have to deal with a very different way of approaching what Five Nights at Freddy's could be. It's a problem I'm frustrated with, but I also understand why it is what it is. I think my biggest problem with Five Nights at Freddy's is the pacing. I hate to say it, I hate to put it out there, but this frustrated me. Frustrated me every time I've watched the movie. Even the times I've been like, yeah, I really enjoyed this. It's always gone back to how can we make the pacing better? This is one of the first times I've ever asked a horror movie to make a longer runtime, and you'll soon realize why. The actual nights of the movie feel like they move quicker than a night during the first game, and that's only 60 seconds. I understand why these films did fast nights. The closer we get to the climax of the film, the more action happens, and the longer we do linger at the pizzeria. But I wish I could have seen more of Mike just exploring Freddy's. I think it would have been interesting to have him interact with the environment around him without needing Vanessa or Abby to be there and guide him almost. There wasn't enough time where Mike really had full control over where he explored in the pizzeria. I do know that they're going to take a sequel approach instead of a prequel approach with the second movie. So I don't know if they're going to put Mike in another pizzeria or a Freddy's adjacent pizzeria, but it would be cool to see him come back and do a security guard shift at one of the other locations, or even a sister location bunker. Cough, cough, nudge, nudge. And the concept is there. It's there. It's not perfect, but it's getting somewhere. And at least we aren't staring at security cameras for 90% of this movie. Another problem I have with Five Nights at Freddy's as a movie is the script/dialogue. I'll put those in the same category. I feel like an unfinished story is pretty common for Five Nights at Freddy's. You see Cawthon go back and finish loose ends from earlier installments of the games and books in later installments. So with the later films of this trilogy, I think the story of Vanessa and Mike will continue to be polished. You can't deny though that there are things missing from this script that could have been there. Maybe some more exposition of the entirety of Mike's family that's still alive. There could have been some touch-ups on dialogue between Mike and Abby as well as other family members he interacted with. So all in all, let's lock in my final answer. Do I think the FNAF movie works? Yeah, pretty much. I think it's a decent movie. I don't think it's an Oscar award winner. I don't think it needs to be. I don't think it needs to be this perfect adaptation we were all hoping for, because I think we were all hoping for different things out of this movie. And I think it works well for a first attempt at a Five Nights at Freddy's movie that actually made it to the post-production process. And I understand why people are mad that it didn't live up to their expectations. When you do make various versions of a film and you keep putting it out on your Reddit, you keep putting it out on your websites, and you're making more games and books as well, it's okay if fan expectations rise. I think it's okay to be a little bit disappointed in a product if it doesn't live up to your highest expectations, especially when we set very unrealistic expectations for the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. But at the end of the day, this movie and the franchise of films will be more of a love letter to the fan base than anything else. This movie is authentically made, and it's something that the creators are proud of. It's not perfect, and it doesn't always make sense, but nothing in the Five Nights at Freddy's universe would be perfect or always make sense. If things made sense, we wouldn't have time-traveling ball pit jokes. But that's my answer. I feel like it's a pretty common consensus, but let me know what you think. I want to know exactly what you think, and so drop it down below in the comments. Let me know what your opinion is on Five Nights at Freddy's, if you're a fan or if you're not a fan. Thank you so much for watching, y'all. I hope to see you next time, and make sure to click that like button, subscribe, and bell for notifications. See you next time. Bye.